everybody to what is going to be a quick preview of the actual episode that is coming out this week. Mr. Miller, good evening, sir. You're looking parched in your
So
desert
thirsty,
background there.
so thirsty,
Yeah.
and
Uh,
I'm almost out of resources. Almost
that's
out.
yeah. Sounds like you need a Circle of Preservation Druid to go ahead and spring up a little oasis over there for you. So
Just
yeah.
just a little bit
Um,
of an oasis. Yes.
Yeah, so everybody listening to the channel, first of all, thank you very much for checking out Tabletop Journeys. As always, this week we are actually going to be replaying an episode that we dropped, daggum near 5 years ago, at least 4 years ago for sure. A episode that we recorded is episode 22 of all things. We're up to episode like 243 or something like that. So it's been a hot minute. But we recorded an episode with a friend of the show from Nerdy People Play, Josh Zagai from Australia, where we were talking about, of all things, Dark Sun back in like mid 2021. And the reason why we were talking about it is because there were rumblings that Dark Sun was coming out, or that was they were dipping their toe in the Dark Sun pool to go ahead and see if anything came back but a bloodied stump. And then that very much kind of like got separated by the thrown by the wayside. And yet here we are again in August of 2025, holding in our hot little hands the Apocalyptic Subclasses Unearthed Arcana, which is once again stoking the fires of speculation that Dark Sun is on its way. And so I think on let us handle just a question here tonight. Could this be anything but Dark Sun?
I don't think it can be anything other than Dark Sun. The
No.
real question for me is not what is it, but it's how is it going to appear?
Yep.
Is this going to be in some kind of anthology
hmm
where we're getting small snippets of campaign worlds, similar to what we saw in Quest for the Infinite Staircase, where we
hmm
hit a bunch of campaign worlds kind of a little at a time, versus all at once?
Yeah.
Or is this going to be something a little more detailed? Like, is it going to be similar to what they're doing or what we know is coming for Forgotten Realms, where you
hmm
get a little like a player's version and a GM's version, kind of like a mini campaign setting, not like not unlike, but not exactly like the box sets of old.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Where you basically get, here's some player information so you can do this, so you have players that fit this setting, and
Yeah.
here's some setting information if you just want to borrow the setting information and put it like a desert in your own world.
Yeah.
I could see them going either way. We've got precedent on either
Yeah.
side of that balance. So
I
I'm
I think
interested.
Yeah, I think subclasses tell me that it's not an adventure path. It's not going to be like Quest for the Infinite Staircase or the Candlekeep Mysteries because they don't tend to put subclasses in those. They're bunches of adventures. There's not a lot of mechanical addition in those types of books. They're really just adventures. I think maybe we see something more like the Spelljammer set, where there is a little book of mechanics, a little book of an adventure, and then a bestiary that is Dark Sun themed, or at least wasteland themed. And I wish that I had the forethought to go ahead and pull it up before here, but there is a kind of ruin wasteland Magic the Gathering setting. Last time I went ahead and went out on that bridge with the giants and thinking that we were going to go ahead and see another Magic the Gathering setting, I was woefully wrong on that front. But there is possible some crossover there too to go ahead and dig into. That's not exclusively Dark Sun, but maybe sort of like what they did in the DMG this time around for 2024, where they said, here are a bunch of different realms and what they look like and how you can use these rules to go ahead and play in those realms. Hey, look, there's Dark Sun. But I think that the smoking gun for me is really the Sorcerer-King patron for Warlock. That's distinctly Dark Sun. Like
Agreed.
it really the other ones could go either way on that. But I think that when you start talking the term Sorcerer King, you're talking Dark Sun. You've got to be. And so yeah. I think I think there's too much evidence just in that name alone. There's too much evidence to go ahead and
Yeah.
say that that's not what they're doing.
Yeah. So we're gonna be talking about this for a while or in the future when there's more material, but we're going to jump right into kind
Yep.
of what's within this Unearthed Arcana. The last thing I'll just say is where it was the Sorcerer-Kings that did it for you, for me, it was Defiler Preserver. Like those two
Yep.
words
Oh yeah, absolutely.
made it. That
Yep.
told me what it is. And I think, one,
Yep.
I'm very excited. I love the setting. So I'm
Oh
very
yeah.
excited.
Yep.
And there's a lot to love about this UA. So let's
Yeah.
get right to it
All right.
before
Yeah.
the midnight sun burns us in our seats.
Exactly. So four subclasses in the UA here: a druid subclass, a fighter subclass, a sorcerer subclass, and like we said, the warlock patron. So let's start with the Circle of Preservation Druid. Super for me, Dark Sun thematic. The mechanics kind of felt a little all over the place. They were okay. I thought that it was fine. But I really think that this is one that is going to need a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of magic to go ahead and make work.
I would agree. First of all, I thought thematically it was perfection. Mechanically, I
Sure.
was
Yeah.
meh.
Yeah.
This would not make me want to jump out and play a Circle of Preservation Druid,
Yeah.
even though I have nothing particular as a problem with it. I don't think anything's broken. I don't think it's overpowered in any way. In
No,
fact,
I
I
don't think
dare
it's
say
overpowered at all. Yeah.
I think it might be a bit underpowered. And
Yeah.
I think primarily for me, it is the fact that what this does is this druid has the ability to utilize its wild shape and create an area of preserver magic. Basically, makes a place
Yep.
lush, beautiful, helpful in multiple ways depending on your level and the various features that you get.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep.
However, it doesn't last.
No.
If it Why are you a preserver if nothing you're doing actually preserves?
Exactly.
That's weird to
Yep.
me. Narratively, there's some dissonance. I'm fine with it not having the magical bonuses beyond a certain period of time. But if you make an area
Yeah. You're a druid.
wonderful,
Yeah.
you're a druid, you make an area
Yeah.
wonderful and beautiful,
Yeah.
there should be a way to maintain that, even
Yeah.
if it's a ritual and you have to cast the ritual. Like a druid
Yep.
can't just run around just dropping plots of grass, right? Maybe they have to do a ritual,
Yeah.
or maybe the feature is they do a
Yeah.
ritual there, or they do that thing there for X number of days. Maybe it's a downtime thing. Like
Yep.
you do this in the moment
Yeah.
as your feature,
Yep.
but
Make it a
if you
bastion
spend your
option, that sort of
downtime,
thing. Yeah.
you can make a small area
Yep.
beautiful or what
Yeah.
have you. And as long as like that to me is what it's missing. It's missing that permanence. If the idea of the
Yeah.
setting is make it better, save the world,
Yep.
I don't see this as saving the world. I see it as looking cool,
Yeah.
being helpful, but I don't see it as saving the world. And
Yeah,
that's weird.
I really kind of thought that this one mechanically was all over the place, and the big thing, you're right, it has to do with that preserved land power. For one, I didn't care for the fact that if I take this subclass, three of the powers that I get from that subclass only cater to that one thing. It really makes this kind of like a one note. Kind of like a Johnny One Note, right? That's really
Yep.
all that I can do. That is the now. Granted, again, thematically and flavor wise, fits Dark Sun, but it also would be a little bit nice to go ahead and give it some other sauce to go ahead and allow it to go ahead and do some other things. That was thing one. Thing two, I think that it's inconsistent in kind of how it's applied. Like I'm looking at the level 6 power, that reject desecrators, right? Where it talks about if you drop your land, and your preserved land, as it says here, enters an enemy's space. Well, you can't move it, so it's never going to enter an enemy space. An enemy may enter it, but it's not going to enter enemy space. There's a difference in the language there that's just untidy.
Yeah.
That is kind of worry about that. Yeah, and then the other thing I think that kind of really kind of illustrated for me that this one might not be fully baked, was the level 10 power facilitated restoration, which on face value is cool. It gives you the option of casting lesser restoration or greater restoration without expending a spell slot. Well, if you've got the option to go ahead and cast lesser restoration or greater restoration, without a spell slot, and they're the cost to you is exactly the same, and there's no benefit to casting one or the other. Why would you ever cast Lesser Restoration when you can always cast Greater Restoration? There's no reason to cast Lesser Restoration. There's nothing that Lesser Restoration gives you that you do not get from Greater Restoration. So just make it Greater Restoration. Don't confuse it by saying you can cast one or
Yeah.
the other. You know, it's just like so it's just like this one just needs a little bit of polish, and I almost wonder if we're not going to see this one after the UA because I think that this one's a little bit further away than ready for prime time.
Uh, I think you're right, and I would agree. The one thing I would also say, and I think it's just the wording, like you said, with the reject
Yep.
desecrators, is it will not enter, but you can cast it on a space where your enemy is. And again, that's just the language where you put your commas, periods, and punctuation. So, like, if you create the land in a space where the enemy is, I think that's what they were intending,
I think that that's
but
what
they
they're
worded
intending
it
to.
badly,
They worded it
badly.
badly. Yeah, and I
Yep.
think the other thing, and you alluded to this kind of like in the opening here when we were talking about it, the student of preservation level 3 power that basically allows you to cast things without using material components. I will die on the bridge that material components are one of those things that is never utilized effectively in 5e. So giving me a power that basically means that I don't need to use a component that we're not dealing with anyway, it's kind of a nothing burger for me. So
Yeah, I would have preferred if in the base classes of all spellcasters, they all had an ability to do that at a certain point,
sure, totally. Yeah.
versus having to use a feature on your
Oh,
subclass
it is.
for
Yeah.
that.
All
But
right. Well,
exactly. So let's get on
yeah.
with the
Yep.
next one because yeah,
Let's go on to the one that they stole from our subclass book.
yep.
So, anybody who read heroic subclasses of the multiverse knows our fighter subclass. Look, I'm not going to be so bold as to go ahead and say that Wizards of the Coast read our book, really enjoyed what they read, and decided, oh man, you know what? We need to go ahead. We can't call it the Enforcer like Tabletop Journeys did, but man, they did some good stuff. Like the bleed abilities, things like that. I mean, like, yeah. And again, were our ideas thoroughly and totally unique? No, they were not, but this subclass felt real familiar.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and you know what?
yeah.
It's so familiar that it is actually my favorite subclass in
I
this
really
UA.
liked it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like it
really liked
did
it.
a lot of
Yeah,
very cool
yep,
things.
yep.
Um,
I love
the
the way that they are leaning into the weapon mastery in this particular subclass.
yes.
I think that that's the way to make weapon masteries super duper relevant and super duper fun is build a subclass that just gets to go ahead and pick and choose which weapon mastery it wants to apply at a given moment in time.
And bang
All
zoom, Bob's your
day
uncle.
long.
Yep.
I didn't
And
love the flavor on this one. I feel kind of exactly the opposite of the Druid on this one. I thought the Gladiator flavor was a little heavy-handed.
I thought it was fine. I actually liked the fact that they decided to make a fighter who effectively their primary ability was not the strength, it was not the dex, it's actually the charisma. I think I really like that. Like a lot of martial classes are so dependent
Hmm.
on strength and dex, con as your backup.
Hmm.
And the fact that this goes charisma and then you pick the other element,
Yeah.
and because of your weapon masteries, you can theme your secondary and tertiary abilities
Yep.
uh, as you want, as
Yeah.
you would. I like the fact that it gives a new way to do a martial class. And I
Yeah.
think that it really does lean into the can you smell what the rock is cooking? You know,
So,
you
but
know,
you're
you
exactly
know.
getting onto why I don't care for the flavor, though. So, for one, I hear you on the mechanical choice on your attributes. However, making charisma that important basically means that you're making a weaker martial class character than you would be otherwise. It means you're downplaying. If you need to go ahead and emphasize on strength and dexterity, and now you also need to worry about charisma, the boat's not big enough for four attributes that are going to go ahead and give you enough hit points to get constitution bonuses. So you're going to go
So
ahead
I
and lower on that front.
so I think you're wrong on that, and the reason I say that is the third level ability, Combat Theatrics. It
Hmm.
says you gain a bonus check when you're doing any of those things with your charisma ability.
Yep. So charisma is now
So
your third ability.
Right.
So
Um,
Constitution's your fourth.
and then your parries are based on your charisma.
Hmm. Yeah.
I honestly think you could make charisma your primary and then decide strength as your secondary.
Okay.
That's how I would build this.
Okay.
I would build this that way.
So you wouldn't take this fighter with dexterity?
Or dexterity. I think one or the other.
Okay.
Probably dexterity just so you have a better AC.
Right.
But
So
again,
right.
yeah.
So now you're choosing. So okay. But that's exactly what I'm saying. So charisma primary, let's say strength secondary. So now
Yep.
you're choosing between a smaller but still there AC bonus or the hit points that you get from a Constitution bonus. Which do you pick?
Honestly, I take the feat that's going to give me, I take the tough feat and I don't worry about the con bonus that way.
Okay. So now you're spending addition. Now you're taking a feat away from your martial character. So that's what I'm
I
saying.
see, but I don't see it that
Adding charisma into the mix makes a weaker martial character.
I think it makes a more flavorful one, and
It,
I say that because
yeah.
you're a fighter. You're lousy with feats. I have played fighters where I ran out of feats that I quote unquote needed for the build, and I had
Yeah.
extra. So
That's actually fair. Yeah.
throwing a tough in there as a fighter is not a worry. And
Yeah.
quite
That's fair.
honestly, at low levels, you're probably going to want to do that anyway. Between, let's say you're playing a human gladiator, you're already getting two
Hmm.
origin feats. You as a fighter, you're picking up all the extra feats as you go along.
Yeah.
If you're playing a gladiator and especially a human gladiator, I would say you absolutely got to
Yep.
take tough as one of your two starting origin feats, and
Yeah.
that
That.
solves the constitution problem right
Yep.
off the rip.
That's a fair compromise. I think you're right that fighters do get enough feat slots that they can afford to go ahead and this is the one case where they can where a character should take tough. I think you're right. I think the other thing though that we have to keep in mind is that so it's like the homage that you played, right? A gladiator gets their charisma bonus because they are in the stadium and playing to the crowd.
Mhm.
That situation doesn't happen all the time. So giving them their charisma bonus when they're making an athletics check, when they're just in their party of the other four Joes that sleep with them in the mud, doesn't make as much narrative sense to me. I hear what they're going for and I get what they're saying. Just for me, it's just kind of like, well, yeah, if they're not in front of a stadium of 1,000 people, why are they getting their charisma bonus? Like Jack the wizard who's traveling with me doesn't think I'm super charismatic, doesn't think I'm all that. He just knows that I'm a fighter.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
think you could be right. And I think this is
Yeah.
where how this gets presented, to go back to our original
Yep.
comment, really comes in. The
Yeah.
question are they going to give a mini adventure or a campaign where you get to see something like this be able to shine in multiple types of situations?
Yep.
Or is it going to be different? You got to bear in mind that we're talking about gladiator revolts. If you're talking Spartacus, it made
Yep.
sense for Spartacus to do the things the way Spartacus does the gladiator way in all kinds of situations outside of the ring,
Sure.
and because that's the way that character was trained. So it makes
Yeah.
sense for that to carry. Whether or not the player character decides to learn other things, takes a different feat, and maybe picks up some battle master things to go along with this between the weapon masters and the battle master stuff that you can get with the martial initiate,
Yep.
that there's a lot of
Yeah.
synergies that are not
I,
wrong here.
I
So
will, yeah, I will say, and I'm really not trying to be negative. I really did enjoy this subclass. Again, for me, it was more just kind of trying to figure out how I would play it. I think is really kind of where I'm coming down at. I will say that they did seem to solve some of the problems that we saw when we looked at the 2014 subclasses. A lot of times, what we would see is like, hey, this is a cool ability. I just don't get to do it that often, right?
yep,
It's the arcane archer problem, right? In this
yep.
subclass, they seem to fix that. They continue to go ahead and let this dude do what he does. I thought that that was really, really well done. I think that is good methodology. That is good game design for this subclass. I think that kudos where kudos are due. That was a problem in the previous editions, and that seems to be fixed this time around. So,
Yep. And note the game design. This is a great template to use if you want to try to build a true arcane archer or things of that nature. Speaking of the arcane, let's move on to
yeah,
the next subclass in the group.
yeah, the defiled sorcerer. What's your thought on this?
every part of me loves every part of this except
Yeah.
one very key thing, and this goes back to our episode 22.
Yep. I
It is
really wanted to love this
important.
a lot more. Yeah.
It is important for players to be the heroes in this setting,
Yep.
more so than any other setting. This is not the setting where playing an evil party or playing the morally gray per se is okay. It wouldn't be at a table I run
Yeah.
or play at.
Yep.
And I don't think this should be a player character. Every feature here is bad ass. I
The level
love
18 feature is not badass, but that's
okay.
immunity
Fair.
poison at level 18 is not good.
You are correct. I and
That's
little cultural bias on my part. I
yeah,
don't care what happens at the level 18 power because it's rare that
because
I'm never
nobody
going to be in
cares.
a game that
Exactly.
does.
Yeah, yeah. I
Right.
I
So
get it. It's yeah,
that could be amazing or stupid, and it would
yeah,
never
yeah, yeah,
matter
yeah,
a whit to me.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So,
That's fair.
uh, so but I like what this does. I like the way it
Yeah,
does it,
yeah.
and none of it should be for player
None of it
characters.
should be a player
This
character.
needs
Yeah.
they need to take these levels and create that suite of defilers that are stat blocks for the enemy.
Hmm.
So this is a great UA because you'll know what people think are cool, what'll work at the
Yep.
table, get that tested out, and
Yep.
then make a stat block at that third level, make a stat block at that
Yep.
sixth level, 14th, and then at that 18th level, CR it
Yep.
however your actual in-house formula works, and do that because
Yep.
these are fantastic as
Yeah.
your enemies.
Here is a scenario that I think is entirely plausible. Let us apply our class warfare methodology to this UA, right? Where we have a story, a one shot being done, and four players playing one each of these subclasses. This sorcerer and the druid are going to be at each other's throats the entire time because their powers are going to basically negate each other throughout.
Yep.
That's poor. That's
Yep.
for as much as I love this, you're absolutely it's not well placed. It's really good, but not well placed. Unless they're also going to be making an evil campaign, which they won't. They
Yep.
won't in Dark Sun.
And that's
Nor
what
should
so
they. Yeah.
yeah. Kudos to the design team. Love the design here, but please
Yep.
just turn this
Put it.
into
Yep.
a suite of four
Yep.
NPC
Yep.
villainous stat
Yep.
blocks.
Or a
Please,
rival
please,
party or something.
some
Yeah.
rival
Yeah.
party
Yeah.
perhaps, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
this is not player character material.
Yep.
This is the kind of thing that in 2014 showed up in the DMG as that evil paladin, and then they're like, "Oh my God, everybody wants to play this." Do
Yep.
not put this in print.
Yep.
Do not put this in print. It will
Right.
cause heartache at the game table.
I think that honestly you would see it being multi-classed into because let's call a spade a spade. This is also something that we tried to make work. The whole powering sorceress powers with your hit dice sort of mechanic, pulling from your own life force to power your stuff. Like we have gone down this road to try to go ahead and make this work. This is much better than anything that we ever came up with. And I think that this is rife for multi-classing if it appears in a book. I don't think you'll get anybody that said that's probably why they don't care about the level 18 power either, is because they know people are going to take a three level dip into sorcerer to get that ability to be able to use their hit dice to go ahead and fuel their powers.
Yep.
And because in a game that emphasizes the long rest and de-emphasizes the short rest, that's the only thing your hit dice can really be used for. So use it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I,
Yeah.
yeah, yep. So I think,
So
I
from
love it
one,
and never want to see
yep,
it.
exactly. So and going from one arcane situation to the next.
Yeah.
Josh, tell me what you think about the Sorcerer
The
King
Sorcerer
patron.
King patron, so yummy. I mean, I want to slurp at the soup, the whole nine yards, and never look at any of the powers that it gets. I just want to know that a Sorcerer King patron exists and that my Warlock can get one. Um, I thought the powers were meh. I thought they were okay.
Yeah.
I thought it really the Sorcerer Kings are so integral to the power of Dark Sun that I really thought that there were opportunities to make cooler things happen. Like even just from the very beginning, right? The level 3, right? So what's one of the things that the subclass gets? They get proficiency in intimidation. Intimidation is already a class skill for Warlock, so they could already get Intimidation at level 1. They don't need to pick it up from the subclass. Now, granted, this means that they
Yeah.
don't need to pick it up from the subclass, stuff like that.
Or they can
I,
turn it into expertise, which is not something
yep,
warlocks
yep.
would
I,
get natively.
yeah, exactly,
So,
right. I will say that the one thing, although it doesn't actually say that, does it? You
yep,
gain proficiency in Intimidation if you don't already have it. You also
you
have
all,
Oh, you
and
also
then
so
it's
you
a
automatically
comma. You
get
also have it.
expertise. Yep,
Yeah.
you automatically get expertise. It's not even a proficiency. That makes it a little bit better, honestly, in my mind. I think that that's a little bit better. That's a little bit more incentive not
Yep.
to take intimidation at level 1 and part of the class skill. I
Yep.
still think that I would like to go ahead and see a little bit of, maybe give it the choice, even just the choice between you get proficiency in either intimidation or deception, something like that. Give a little bit of choice, right? Because I think that that's
Yep.
the one thing that all 4 of these subclasses do is they definitely pigeonhole you into very particular roles and characters. And I would like to go ahead and see a little bit more diversity, the ability to play something a little bit different, some different bends on this information. Um, you know, but that's more because I want to go ahead and see an evolution of Dark Sun. I don't want to see Dark Sun the same way that it was 30 years ago, right? Now I will say that I did really, really like, and again, we talked about the kind of like the game craft of the fighter, how it fixed the arcane archer problem. I did really like how at level 6 they specifically call out that you can regain that ability when because warlocks at level 2 can basically regain pack spells slots, right? They have it's magical cunning or something like that. I forget what the name of it is, but it can basically yeah, magical cunning, which basically allows them to go ahead and regain pack magic slots. The fact that they give you decisive edict and you can regain that also when you use magical cunning, I think is very, very well played. Again, it is letting the subclass that gets the cool thing continue to do the cool thing, which is really, really well done.
I agree. And look, I love warlocks thematically, and in the right game or with the right DM, I'm even okay with warlocks to not good patrons being in the game because there is room for the player to have his character kind of rail against. Like they have the power.
Yep.
But it takes a GM who's not like, well, he gave you the power, so you have to do things his way the whole time.
Yep.
It could be they gave you the power and it's your power now. You will always grow in this power, but they might start sending things after you. So you
Yep.
could have once been the thrall or servant of the Sorcerer King, but when the revolution rose up and attempted to free the city, you changed your mind. So
Yep.
you have some drama with your party, like you used to serve this guy. Can they really trust you? There's a whole bunch of things like that. Going to your deception point, maybe he hides what he used to be. The
Hmm.
fact that his power is by in writing profane.
Yeah.
He's, how much will he show? Versus how much will he hide, that type of thing. There's a lot of coolness that can be done,
Yeah.
but it is towing that careful line that in the hands of the wrong GM will
Yep.
not be good at the table because of this setting.
Yep.
Now, if you want to take this out of this setting and just say, I have a multiversal party doing a multiversal story, we're all in a spelljammer ship, grab it, do your thing.
Yep.
I think you'll be fine. But
Yep.
in the Dark Sun setting, I have nerves about some of the stuff, and it's because I have nerves about Dark Sun in general.
Yep. Yep.
But I
I
like
think
it.
yeah.
It's just weird, and
Yep.
and there's a lot of session zero conversation
Yep.
that has to be had.
Yeah, I think also that much like the sorcerer subclass, I'm not necessarily sure that I want one of these at my table. As much as I think it's cool, Warlock also already kind of gravitate towards the dark edge lord character. I don't want to give the Warlock that's at my table a power called absolute tyranny.
Yep.
That's not a good power.
Yeah.
That's and nor do I really want them serving a monstrous tyrannical force akin to a demigod. you know
Yeah.
like and again, this is all written with the fact that in our subclass book we wrote an entire suite of subclasses that serve a dark tyrannical god. So like the shadow dwellers were not necessarily good characters either. So I know from whence we come, like that it is tough to go ahead
Yep.
and write a warlock that does not paint itself towards evil. I think that it is a little less, maybe because it's warlock it feels a little less cute than the sorcerer, but I think it has the same problem. So
Yep,
Yep.
absolutely. So we've covered all the subclasses, and I think it's a great time before we wrap up because, like we said at the outset, this is going to be kind of real short. We just wanted to hit this
Yep.
and make sure that you have the opportunity to tune into our original episode. So we're not going to give you a ton of spoilers about that original episode, but I did want to point out there are a number of things that we talked about in that episode that have come true here, and there are a few things that were missed. I want folks in the comments of either this episode or the 22 to tell us, actually, in the comment section of this episode, I'd like you to tell us what things you think we spoke about
Yeah.
in episode 22 that this UA missed
Yeah.
and why. I think
Yep.
two parts. What was missed and why.
Yep.
And let us have that conversation. Let's talk about that.
Yep.
Visit us on Discord, visit us on in our Facebook community, hit us up on Blue Sky.
Yep.
Tell us what you think was missed from 22 in this UA. But I do want to talk about the things real briefly, just quick
Yep.
minute here. I'll hit a couple. Josh, you hit a couple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about the things that I think we hit spot on. And for me, the number one thing is the Athasian gladiators. When we
Yep.
called that out in episode 22, this UA hits that
Yep.
perfectly.
Yep.
It really does everything, theatrics, combat, intimidation. This aligns with what we were looking for
Yep.
in ways that I could only have dreamed about. So
Yep.
thank you very much. I'm glad there
Yep.
was the enforcer to light the way with the bleeding.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. I think the other thing that we talked about a lot in episode 22 was the theme of Dark Sun and how really the themes to go ahead and lean into. We talked about at the very opening of this episode, that whole circle of preservation and defilement and how that wheel spins on Athos to go ahead and protect the people that need protecting and but give fuel to the bad guys also, right? So I think that these subclasses at least suggest that they are working on making that circle work in 5e, which is I think that's going to be a good thing.
Absolutely.
So I did write down one thing that I wish was in this UA and had nothing. These weren't things that were in episode 22, but there were some things that I wish that were in here. So they gave us 4 subclasses, and that's fantastic. Where is my scavenger barbarian?
Mm.
Where is my fallen paladin?
Mhm.
Where is my faith lost cleric? Where's my nomadic monk? Where are they?
We're looking for you.
Where?
The
Yeah,
dust has
the
not quite
dust. Yeah,
settled,
yeah,
but we
yeah,
have picked up our pack.
yeah,
We have our
yeah,
ceramic coin. We
yeah,
have our bone daggers and stone
yeah,
shields,
yeah.
or
They
stone
may be,
daggers and
yeah,
bone shields,
yeah,
and we are headed out into the wastes.
yeah. Depending on what happens,
Um,
they may be on Drive Through RPG in a little bit. Let's put that.
Yep. So in the links, either up here, down there, to the side, I'm not sure where they're going to end up. Tune into the very next thing that pops up. Should be
Yep,
popping up as you're finishing this episode.
yep,
And get a re-listen to episode 22. It
yeah,
goes way, way back before we were on YouTube.
yeah.
So we've got some great information on the episode for you. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone,
All
for your
right.
time. Josh, take us out.
Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you listening tonight. We'll be back next week with more class warfare. I believe it is clerics. I think that yeah. We just finished rogue, so it'll be clerics is next. Again, the other one run by Sergio from the D&D Lorecast. And without too many spoilers here, some fun things happening on preservations in the next couple of weeks. So yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, all. Thank you very much for listening. Yeah, stay right where you are. Just listen to the next episode that comes up. Should talk episode 22, revisiting Dark Sun with Zagai. So yeah. Until then,
Have a good
have a good
night,
night,
all.
everybody. Later.
So hot. It's so hot. And we're out.